Hello and welcome to the Make Money with Mace podcast. I'm your host, Mace, and let's get right into previewing some Week 9 NFL action. And just going to start off with acknowledging the very poor back-to-back 1-3 weekends. So 2-6 my last two weekends, and I think it's mostly because I tend to get too cute with my picks. Like, I'll try to pick something off the beaten path and, not bet a ton. And the stuff I've been right on has been, the run the ball up the middle, gain a couple yards, singles up the middle, that the very obvious picks that are the ones that should be taken sort of thing. So, with that being said, I'm just going to rip through these games real quick and try to provide some solid analysis for everybody to try and take advantage of and make some money. So, first game is obviously Tennessee at Pittsburgh. Tennessee has been a much, much different team at home as opposed to I think they're just straight up 0-5 away from Nashville, and obviously 3-0 at Nashville. So I expect that trend to continue against Pittsburgh, even though Pittsburgh's not that great. I don't know if I'd bet anything necessarily on Pittsburgh spread-wise, but I could see myself betting TJ Watt like over a sack tomorrow sort of thing. So going to keep an eye out for that one. But yeah, both these teams, like DVOA and everything, do not love them. Like Tennessee is actually pretty average by DVOA, which makes sense. They play solid defense. They have good special teams. The offense has been the issue. And when Pittsburgh has been, again, very similar team where defense is great, offense has been the severe issue, and special teams are solid. So that is sort of the deal with both these teams. Kind of a mid-off, but yeah, worse things than there's worse things to be than mid. So got that going on, and gonna take a look at. Sorry, I was holding my mic the wrong way, so that initial audio might be a little muffled. But the next game I'm going to be taking a look at is the Germany game in Frankfurt on Sunday morning. Miami at Kansas. It says Miami at Kansas City. Miami is currently a 1.5-point favorite. I think that's a lot of recency bias. I think that Kansas City's defensive line is going to cause issues for Miami's makeshift offensive line. And Miami has obviously been much better at home than they have been on the road. The offense has been running better at home for them, so that's probably going to continue to be the case, even though it's a neutral site. I think that Kansas City's offensive issues have been a little overblown. Like, they're still a fairly good offense. Like, Kansas City still ranks 5th in offensive efficiency, so I think that there's a big overreaction and lots of recency bias. And I don't like betting the international games just because you never know what's going to happen. But Kansas City's super solid. Miami's obviously super solid. I might even go with the under in this one just because I think that both teams might struggle to score. But who knows in that one. But yeah, I mean, it should be a fun game, bare minimum. Miami's a 1.5-point dog. Could be interesting to take the money line. But I have to do a little bit more analysis before I put out any bets regarding it. Then we get Minnesota at Atlanta kicking off the 1 p.m. games. Or, wherever you live. Noon in Central, 11 a.m., 10 a.m. This game is a little depressing just because Kirk has been very, very, very good, and he's been lots of fun these past few Vikings years. And Atlanta is making the switch to Heineke, and their offense will be better, just straight up. Minnesota does play exotic defenses. Like, they're a solid unit across the board. Like, they actually have jumped up to 10th in defense. Part of that is playing the Packers, and that helps things. But they're a solid team. Jaron Hall is the backup. I don't really know much about him. To be perfectly honest, I don't even remember him particularly that much from college. So not a ton going on. I'm looking at this action bet, and It's short. Never mind. I was hoping we get overtime so Bowling Green could cover. Is what it is. All right. So we've got Minnesota, Atlanta. Like Heineke with a full week of practice in Georgia feels like a very solid bet. I know the under is really low, and I think it's only 4.5. I think Atlanta can just beat them. There's no Justin Jefferson, and Kirk is not getting enough credit, I don't think, in terms of what he's meant to this Vikings team and how he's elevated them. The run game's been non-existent, and while the line is all right, it's especially good at the tackles. The interior is pretty weak. The line's all right, but I don't know. Not a great matchup for Minnesota right now because they're going to have to keep pace with Heineke, who will push the ball downfield. He'll, in theory, take better care of the ball. So I'm expecting at least something going on in this game. Leaning towards Atlanta. Potential best bet. The number's at 38, and I don't really trust it that much. Over-unders have been hard this year. I've had a hard time with them. But, I'll take what I can get. Seattle is at Baltimore, and Baltimore is rightfully a 5.5-point favorite, 6-point favorite some places. They opened at 5.5, and they're a better football team. We're currently, by advanced metrics, they are the best football team, which is sort of hard to argue at this point. Given their past few performances, they've been dominant, and they dominated a good team, which is very important in terms of how I like to view a team. Seattle is a good team. They are really pretty solid, but I do think that a team traveling east that's not used to Lamar is a recipe for a Ravens win. A cover of 6 points is a lot, and obviously Arizona backdoor covered, and we're a-holes about it. Would have saved me. It would have at least broken even, if not for them. But I think that Baltimore is just, their defense is really great. The offense has been fantastic, and they're just a really good football team rounding into form. And while Seattle is really good, I think that Geno could be taken advantage of a little bit. He has not been as good as he was last year, but still solid. So make of that what you will. I see the next game is Arizona at Cleveland. Oh, yikes. I think Kyler's playing. It's either Kyler or Clayton Tune, and depending on who's playing, is who I will be putting the bet on. With the number being what it is, I imagine it's Clayton Tune. And obviously they finally covered a game. But I don't know. I'm probably going to stay away just because you never know how bad PJ Walker could be. Just in any capacity. I don't know if I'll be touching that game. Ooh, and then we've got the Rams at Green Bay. I think the Rams are just going to win outright. I think it depends on Stafford, honestly, but Green Bay is just sort of dysfunctional right now, so gonna leave that there. Then we've got Tampa Bay at Houston. This is kind of a quick preview. There's not a ton to say about these games. There's lots of really good teams on bye, which is part of it. Like Jacksonville's on bye, Detroit's on bye. We've got, excuse me, just gonna pause this real quick. We're back. Had to take a little bit of a break there, just because, well, a bug flew at me. Wanted to take care of it. But yeah, I was saying that Detroit's on a bye. I think the Chargers are not. They're playing Monday Night Football. Buffalo and Cincy are playing each other. That's interesting. Dallas and Philly are playing each other. That's interesting. But I think like Jacksonville and Detroit being on bye is making this week feel a lot less interesting. And it's taking away some teams I like to bet on. Just checking who else is on bye right now. Week 9. Yeah, the Niners, Lions, Jags, and Broncos. Since that's a lot of teams. Though there's 3 teams that make things very interesting, and another team that can be fun to bet against in the Broncos. So yeah, just gonna keep on trucking. That Seattle-Baltimore matchup is probably game of the day. But But I think just in general, if that's the game of the day, and like Miami, Kansas City being not stateside makes it a lot less interesting because I just don't know what is going to happen. I don't know how teams are going to be affected, how Miami's offensive line is going to look, just because, again, they're so banged up on that front. Kansas City's defense is good. But, yeah, it's like Minnesota at Atlanta would have been so much more interesting with Kirk. And that's sort of taken air out of my my fun factor. And the Patriots sucking too, and I'll get to them in just a second. Tampa Bay at Houston. I've been riding Houston a little too much, and like they haven't hit an over in a while, and I don't know if it'll happen against Tampa, because Tampa also doesn't like to score the ball either. But as a young team against a team that has, like, Baker's pretty competent, I don't know. It's weird because Tampa's defense has been pretty good. They're ranked 13th defensively. They're a pretty solid unit. And then offensively, it's just the offense has been the issues. Like, Houston looked really explosive. They're still ranked 13th in offense. Particularly good, even with the bad week, they still rank 13th in offense, which I think says more about the league in general. But Tampa Bay's offense has been pretty anemic. They rank 25th total right now. But their defense is good. They rank, obviously they stuff the run. They play, they're actually pretty mid defensively. I mean, I say mid. They're still ranked 13th, which is obviously above average, but they're like 13th, 15th, 13th. In terms of defensive metrics, that being how it's weighted ranking wise, it's pass ranking and it's rush ranking. So make of that what you will. It makes it harder to predict, but I do know that with Houston's defense not being the best, I think they rank. Yeah, Houston defensively ranks 20th. Again, sort of 20th across the board, and yeah, it's just, it could be an under game. Both of them have been going under quite a bit lately, but I think I saw the actual under game, which I'm finally happy that they're back. They're back on a Sunday, which makes again my Sundays easier to bet on. And then we've got this game. I have no idea what's going to happen in it. Washington, New England. It feels like two teams that have sort of just like quit. Not really quit. I guess Washington quit sort of organizationally by trading away Montez Sweat in particular. Chase Young was obviously traded away, but in terms of foundational pieces, you didn't know if Young was a foundational piece, but you for sure knew that Montez Sweat is a guy that, like, he goes in, he gets to work and all that good stuff. The Patriots being favorites, they just shouldn't be. I know the defense has been bad for Washington, but Howell's looked really pretty good in some games. And obviously New England, like, I don't know. It's a disgusting game. I probably won't touch it. Like, these two teams are so, like, the Patriots are so bad, and Washington's just roller coaster. You just don't know what you're ever going to get from them. Like, the quarterback is good. The receivers are great. The quarterback's not good yet. He gets sacked too much. But he can look horrible. He can look great. It's pretty Jekyll and Hyde. The receivers are great, like, undoubtedly. But defensively, you trade away your best player. The scheme is really poor. I don't know. This could be a game where Patriots offense looks competent, but all in all, I'm not expecting much from either team. I think it's going to be some sicko football potentially. But yeah, I don't know what to expect at all. I mean, the Patriots are obviously struggling. Losing Kendrick Bourne is a huge, huge blow to any productivity this offense is going to have. And I just don't see either team. Like, it's like one of those things where both teams play and they both lose. It sort of feels like the vibe from this game. That's pretty sad. But again, probably going to stay away from it just because that is the case. And then we've got a very fun game. Chicago and New Orleans. So Chicago's overs in their last 10, which does date back to last year, have been hitting. And man, oh man, they hit mostly because their defense is so poor. New Orleans has hit the over twice now, but that is because of competent offense from Indy and Jacksonville, which in Jacksonville's case, obviously they're really solid. Indy's case, again, like, they're all right. Tyson Bagent was awful against the Chargers, and being awful against the Chargers, it's not good when you're actually facing a real defense. And with the over being 41, it's at the Dome. I mean, New Orleans has been playing better offense as of late, so I wouldn't be shocked if the under isn't it. But at -8.5, I think they can cover that. A game I will bet the over on is Indy at Carolina, because Indy loves to go over. 8-2 their last 10. They've scored at least 20 points every single game. And Carolina's over-under, they're 50-50. Their 15 points was actually the second lowest total of the season for them. So I think that both these teams, they like to score points a little bit. Their defenses aren't the best. That's going to be a fun little over to bet. Shout Minshew, man. Love that guy. Like 44 is definitely attainable with these teams, especially with how bad Indy's secondary is. We've got a gross game with the Giants and Raiders. That might be the under game. 37. Holy shnikes. Yeah, the Giants are 2-8, 3-7. They're under. It's like under. Holy crap, it's awful. And the Raiders have Max Crosby, and Max Crosby obviously is worth a win or two here and there. So I think that's definitely the under game. It's at 37 right now, so definitely gonna take that sucker, take it to the bank, and run with it. Ooh, and then Dallas at Philly. This should be a very fun game. Super into it. So with Dallas at Philly, matchup wise, I think that it's going to be, can Philly's pass rush impact Dallas's offense, and can it impact it meaningfully? And what I mean by that is Dallas's offensive line is really, really good. One of the best in football, if not the best. With that unit being so strong, it's it's very rare Philly faces teams that can beat them in the trenches, and Dallas is one of the few teams that can do it. Obviously, Micah Parsons is amazing and is super good, but so is DeMarcus Lawrence in the middle, and obviously Oso Odigizua in the middle. It's like they've got the dudes. The thing is that it's about the back ends in this game, and how hurt is Jalen Hurts, because obviously he's a little banged up, and with that being the case, I could see it being harder on Philly in this game. Like, in terms of this might be the Dallas beats a team. Like last week, they beat the crap. Like, there was no look aheads. They were professional, and they beat the crap out of what's their faces, the Rams. Who the Rams are not like a walkover team. So I'm gonna be very interested in seeing how these two teams match up. If there's anything worth speaking on in terms of their efficiency stats and DVOA and things like that. So Philly, in terms of their offense, obviously they run the ball very, very well. They actually ranked 8th in pass, 8th in rush, but they've been really pretty poor in the red zone. I want to look at these two teams are actually both poor in the red zone. I believe they're both bottom third. Let me pull that up. 2023 red zone offense. Here we go. So, for reference, Miami is first in red zone scoring percentage, which is touchdowns only. It does not include field goals. So, Miami is scoring a touchdown in the red zone 74% of the time. Pretty incredible. Next closest is Buffalo at 68%, so should be a decent marker. So here we go. Philadelphia is scoring a touchdown 51.52% of the time, so they rank 18th. Sandwich between Kansas City, who ranks 17th at 51.61, and Seattle at straight 50%. So that should
give a pretty good indication of where that team is at in terms of their red zone efficiency and all that good stuff. Dallas ranks 29th. 40.74% of their red zone appearances result in a touchdown. So scoring might be a little low in this game, but then I want to take a look at the defensive efficiency, right? So Philly, they got Kevin Byard. They're really pretty good, but they are the number one running defense in the NFL. Not a shocker. They've got some monsters up front. Dallas's defense has been they're awesome. They third-ranked pass defense. Deron Bland's been crazy. And you got the 9th-ranked rush defense. So they're kicking butt, taking names on both sides of the ball, while Philly is actually the 23rd-ranked passing defense. So they're vulnerable in the back end. They're vulnerable to CeeDee Lamb. They're going to be vulnerable to Brandon Cooks. So I think that if there is an upset spot for Dallas, it is right here. It obviously requires Dallas to meet the moment and not be what they have been in recent years. So going to be interesting to see if they can actually do it. But yeah, so that's that game. Should be another good game. So it feels like there's a bunch of not very interesting games clustered around some pretty good games. And that game takes us right to Sunday night. Cincy hosting Buffalo. And I'm going to be real. Advanced numbers love Buffalo. They really do. But Buffalo has been not very good, right? Like when they win, they kill teams. They move the ball well. And they played Thursday in Tampa. They win comfortably, but no Matt Milano. The offense is janky, and they're facing a team that the last time they played was in the playoffs, and in Buffalo, Cincinnati smoked them. And Cincy is coming alive. They started off 1-3. They are obviously now. Let me take a look. Cincy record. I'm looking only at advanced stuff right now because the advanced stuff's pretty helpful. Yeah, so they started off 1-3. They've won 3 in a row. And most recently went to San Francisco and beat them by 2 touchdowns. So make of that what you will. And by make of that what you will, I mean Joe Burrow looks healthy. The offense is humming, and Buffalo's defense is not good. They just aren't. The advanced numbers are not taking... It's going to take a while for it to manifest, but Matt Milano being gone has made the defense just terrible. Like, it is not efficient. They let Mac Jones and the Patriots and their a bunch of 40-time receivers cook them. So, again, not a very compelling team to bet on. I think that if anything, though, the offense is still pretty good, and since his defense is not what it has been, and Stephon Diggs is obviously good for a good amount of touchdowns and yards a game, so I think let me take a look at that over. 49.5 is pretty rich, especially with unders being at an all-time high, but might nab the over on that sucker. But yeah, it's not great. So, and that takes us to the last game on Sunday, or actually rather Monday night. That is the Sunday night game. Monday night game, take a quick little peek at that sucker. We got the Chargers at the Jets. The Chargers should be favored, and Zach Wilson has been playing pretty terribly, but the Jets defense has been balling out. But I do wonder when, like, the balloon is going to pop, right? Like, I do really wonder when it's going to be like, okay, like, the defense is tired. Probably not going to be very soon. And if there's any defense that can make a quarterback look good, it's the Chargers. And I'll have more for it, obviously, when I write about the Monday blog. But I think the Chargers are a better team. I'm leaning them, but it is the Chargers. They are traveling east, but it is the Jets. So yeah, that's what I've got in terms of NFL thoughts. Gonna have the more comprehensive article out Sunday morning, and just gonna take a quick look at college football Saturday. So it looks like it's sort of like get right week for the SEC. It's like SEC pseudo bye week. Notre Dame, Clemson, gonna hammer Notre Dame. They're a good football team. Clemson has been a bad football team this year. That's definitely going to be one of the best bets. Because with Notre Dame, what'd they do last week? Yeah, they're 7-2. At Clemson, they're only 3-point favorite. That's crazy. They just beat a team 58-7. And they thumped USC like they beat Duke. Like they're beating all these good teams. I don't understand why they're only a 3-point favorite. That's crazy. So that game, Utah is probably going to beat Arizona State. Like that one. Penn State is an 8.5-point favorite at Maryland, which makes sense. Maryland's actually pretty good. Yeah, Maryland's 5-3. But they did lose to Northwestern, which is tough. And Illinois. Tough. Oh, and we've got the under of the century. Iowa, Northwestern. Are you kidding me? Are you? Oh, we've got that. We've got that wrapped up, bagged up, baby. Man, that's amazing. I can't wait for that one. 30.5. That's crazy. Love that. Illinois, Minnesota could be fun. Houston, Baylor, Oklahoma, Bedlam, but not at night, which kind of stinks because Bedlam's better at night. Auburn, Vandy, Cal, Oregon. Oregon's a huge favorite. They've been good at covering lately. Kansas at Iowa State. Iowa State's recovered. Yeah, they've recovered. They're 5-3. Kentucky at Mississippi State's a pretty good game. SMU at Rice. SMU's going to murder them. Oh, my God. That's what I'm going to bet. Are you kidding me? So, for reference, like Rice is not very good. They're 4-4. They're 6-2 against the spread this year, so make of that what you will. But then they did cover after like that 28-30 Tulane win. They were down 27-7 at halftime. They're not very like consistent. So, for reference, Rice beat Tulsa 42-10. SMU beat Tulsa 69-10. They beat Temple 55-0. What did Rice? Rice has not played Temple yet. Looking for mutual opponents. But regardless, SMU is really good. They're like an actual good team. LSU, Alabama. That should be a fun game. Alabama's 3-point favorite. Miami, NC State. That might be a good under game. I think both these defenses are really pretty good. Miami has actually gone over their total quite a bit lately. But part of that is they haven't faced, like NC State is going to meet them. They're going to meet them at the defensive front of things. Their defense is really solid. That could be a good under. Oregon State, Colorado. Oregon State's probably going to beat them. The Hilltoppers are facing UTEP as 8.5-point favorites. Yeah, Hilltoppers are pretty good. UTEP's not that good. Stanford, Wazoo. Wazoo is really pretty good. So this is a fun college football weekend for sure. Not as like many haymaker matchups. Ooh, Washington, USC over 76.5. Gonna hammer that. That game's gonna be crazy high scoring because all those teams too is play high scoring games. So that should be a fun one. Alrighty. So a little bit of college football preview. Talking NBA. I'm not 2-2 right now in terms of PRAs. Might dip my toes into spreads just because PRAs are a little funky. But yeah, I'm thinking it'll be fun to keep it going. I thank everybody for listening. Gonna keep making content for y'all and let's make some money.